I'm going to replace this toilet in this washroom. Keep watching the video. Welcome back, it's Jeff Lepard from jefflepard.com, and on this channel we do product reviews, vacation videos, do-it-yourself videos, and so much more. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So I'm going to be replacing this toilet in this upstairs washroom. Reason is this is an older toilet that uses a lot of water consumption and it's outdated. So I'm going to be replacing it with something that's going to use a lot less water, give you an option to use one or full flush, and it's going to save the client a lot more money in the yearly cost of water, and of course you're getting a new toilet. We can take a look and see how much water consumption this toilet actually uses. It's only one style flush system, and it literally empties the entire tank, as opposed to a newer style toilet that would save so much more water and excellent on the pocketbook, of course, as well. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to shut the water off to the toilet, and I need to drain the toilet before I can disassemble and take out the old toilet. Okay, so the water shut-off valve is just close to the floor by your toilet. I'm just going to turn it clockwise to the point where it's fully tightened, and that will stop any more water from going into the toilet. And the next thing you want to do is you want to flush to empty all the water in the tank, and even hold it down just to make sure there's no water left over in the tank. Next thing I want to do is I want to disconnect the water line. It's either going to be a water line or a water hose. This is the old style line that was fitted right to the toilet from the water valve. So I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect it from the bowl. And I'm also going to use a wrench and disconnect that from the water valve as well. Okay. Just need an adjustable wrench. That'll do just fine. And you're going to turn that counterclockwise. You may get some water, so it's good to have a towel. Okay, and this we're no longer using for the new install, so this can be discarded and thrown out. So when taking the toilet out, there's two ways we can do this. You can just take the entire toilet out as a whole, just by taking these caps off and using your wrench and just taking off these two bolts on each side, and the entire toilet will come out. If that's too big or too heavy for you to carry, or you're worried about water splashing, you can also take the tank off before removing the base. So I'm going to do that for you. I don't need to do that, but I'm going to take the tank off first just to show you how to disassemble that. There's two bolts right behind in the back, just underneath. You want to use your wrench and disassemble that. And I'm going to recommend using contractor construction garbage bags. They're really strong, they're really thick, and that's going to stop any water from penetrating the garbage bag, and of course carrying that dirty water throughout your house when you're trying to remove it. So it's going to make it a little bit easier having those bags on hand. So first thing, I'm going to just disconnect the top tank just using my adjustable wrench, and just going to loosen that off, and then that will free the tank from the toilet. And once you get it loose, you can use your hand to loosen the nut. Now the bolts are off the water tank on the toilet. I'm ready to remove. That should just lift right up. And I have my contractor's construction bag. It's very thick and very sturdy. So I'm just going to lift this up onto the bag, and then I'm going to bag this up and take that outside for garbage removal. It will probably shoot some water out, but that's okay. Okay. And this. And that's ready for garbage removal. So now with the tank removed, we're ready to remove the toilet. I'm just going to use my adjustable wrench. And there's bolts on each side that I'm just going to remove. And once that's removed, the toilet will come out. Now I just have my contractor's bag ready. I'm going to lift the toilet up. I'm going to try to slide the bag under to minimize water spillage. So, okay, so the toilet's free. Just going to lift this side up. Wedge the bag underneath. Okay. Now with the toilet out of the way, want to make sure the area is clean. And I'm just going to use this knife just to get rid of the old caulking that was around the base of the toilet. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. And then once I remove the caulking, I'm going to use a cleaner, just a spray, and I'm just going to clean the surface of the floor before I begin the installation of the toilet. I'm just going to clean the area all along the floor. It also will help the new caulking when I install bond better because it won't want to stick to a dirty floor. So the first thing I need to do before the new toilet can be installed is I want to put a new gasket down. Now, you could use a wax gasket. Typically comes with the new toilet, or if you have to purchase it additionally, that's fine too as well. I like to use the rubber gaskets, and they're just a little bit more money, but I find that they work a lot better. But whether your preference is wax or rubber, or sponge gasket, you want to call it, both are fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and install this, put the flat surface down first, and that's just going right over the flange mount here. Okay, and we can see we have an extension because of the tiles, so this is very good. And just center that there, and the new toilet will be seated right on top of the gasket. Now with the sponge gasket installed, we're ready to start the installation of the toilet. So what I'm installing is a Glacier Bay toilet, and I'm going to be assembling it starting off with the main toilet frame. So what I'm going to do is, with the new sponge gasket in place, and of course I have my bolts, I'm just going to grab the toilet and line up the holes corresponding left and right to the flange gasket, the flange mount rather, and I'm just going to seat that into place before using the bolts and tighten them in. So I'm just going to grab a hold of the toilet, and I'm just going to lift it up and just carefully place it over, not trying to knock out the bolts out of place. And I'm just going to line it up as straight as possible. Okay, and it'll be a little bit wobbly. That's showing that the gasket is putting some pressure onto the toilet, but once that's seated, it'll sit right nice. So right about there, and I'm going to go ahead next to install the bolts. So now I'm just going to install the nut first I'm going to put the plastic piece on. Okay, followed by the brass piece. Okay. And I'm just going to put the nut on after, just hand tight. And then now I'll use my adjustable wrench to tighten that as soon as I get the other side on. Now I'm just going to use the adjustable wrench and just hand tighten both of the bolts on each side just until they're snug. You don't want to over tighten, because if you do, you may cause the bolt to pop through the flange mount, and you don't want to do that because then your toilet will be unsecure. I'm just going to do each side a little bit, just to the point where the toilet is going to be secure. To the point where it's not moving. Once the toilet's tightened, you're just going to use these white caps just to give it a better look. It's a better presentation, covering up the nut and the bolt. So I'm just going to click that into place, and that should be fine. Okay, like so. Now, before I install the tank onto the toilet, since I have a little more room to work with, the client wants to put white caulking around the base. It's really up to you. You don't have to. It does finish it off a little bit better, and should there ever be a flood or a bit of water that would get within the toilet, that would of course cause a leak going down the pipe. So it's always good. It's a nice little finishing touch to the toilet. So I'm going to do this part now. I'm just going to caulk along the base of the toilet and just run my finger to finish off the caulking before I continue on with the installation. This is just a bathroom caulking tub and toilet or anything like that, and you can just purchase that at your local department store or get it on Amazon. And I'll also leave a link down below for toilets and caulking should you need to get some of those. Now I'm just going to finish off the edging of the caulking with my finger. You can also use a caulking tool to glide that along the edges just to finish it up. And just going to have this towel just to wipe the excess caulking off. Go over it a few times, and that will finish off your caulking nice. Now the next step is to put the tank onto the toilet. So I'll just turn the tank upside down, and in the toilet you'll also have a rubber gasket. That's got to slip over this PVC part. So I'm just going to slip that over, and you'll either have bolts or wing nuts that will attach the tank to the toilet portion. These threaded rods will go through, sit on the seal, and of course I'm going to use the wing nuts to attach them afterwards. So I'm just going to get this seated into place first. The flat side facing the wall. I'm just going to line up the bolts. Okay, and that's going to sit nicely close to the wall, just like so. Now with the tank seated in place, I'm ready to just get my wing nut in place. So we're just going to use this washer and the wing nut. The washer part goes first and the wing nut after. And I'm just going to hand tighten it a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is equal pressure. I'm just going to tighten both sides to the point where it's level and tight on each side. Okay. Okay, we can still see that this is very loose. So I'm just going to start slowly tightening the one side, a couple turns. followed by the other side. A couple turns, just paying attention to where it's seated here. Okay. Okay. Still tightening. It is getting pretty tight. All right. Okay, like so. Now with the water tank installed, next is I want to hook up the water line. So the water line I'm going to be using is a 16-inch flexible braided connector. It's very important, whatever you had installed previously with your old toilet, if you measure from the water line to the top, now that might not be your new measurements, and a lot of people have made that mistake. I have in the past, buying a 12-inch hose where the new toilet is sitting a lot higher, and generally the newer toilets do sit about 3 to 5 inches, a little bit higher than the older style toilets, so you're going to need a little bit of a longer hose. So you want to just pay attention to that when you buy the new toilet. So I'm just going to remove the tag, and also leave a link down below for these as well, for you to get some of these braided connectors. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it up to the water valve. That's your water shutoff. I'm going to just connect that. I'm just going to hand tighten that down first, followed by using my adjustable wrench. And now I'm going to go ahead and tighten that in its final position. You don't have to over crank it, because once it is sealed, it will be sufficient. Just hand tight is fine. And then I will connect the top part to the tank. And got about one more turn here. Okay, and that's fine right there. So now I'm going to connect this to the top portion of the tank. So remove this cap. Okay. And here we go. Just have to bend the line out of the way. Okay. So now I'm just hand tightening the top of the line to the water tank, and that will sit snug, just to the point where I can't tighten that any longer. Like so. Next thing to do is install the lid for the water tank, and of course these are our 2-button flush system. We have single flush and full flush, so we just have to put that button into place, and to do that, just simply going to take the plastic screw off of here, just like so. Slide that off, and this is going to slide on. So it's going to be the full flush to the right and single flush to the left. So we're just going to line that up in place. Flip this around and slide this over, and hand tighten this to its final position. And that will secure. And these things will, of course, press the corresponding button within the tank. And just double check to make sure everything is straight and lined up where you want it. Okay, that's perfect. And tighten that in. So this is going to be right into place, and of course that's pressing the buttons inside the tank. And lastly, the most important part is to install the toilet seat, and this also comes with the hardware. It's just a screw washer and a plastic cap that's going to be used to secure the seat into place. So what I'm going to do is it's already got a bit of a rubber seat there. So I'm just going to line this up over the holes, and I'm just going to take my screw off. Okay. And like so. And I'm just going to drop this through. And same thing with the other one. Okay, and this one's going to drop through. And I'm going to just tighten it underneath this screw. I'm going to put the washer, plastic washer, and the plastic piece. So all I'm going to do is just press this down, feel underneath, put the washer through, and just hand spin, hand tighten the plastic nut onto the thread. And I'm just going to spin that all the way to the top, and I'll do the same for the other side. And then I'll continue to hand tighten that down once it's secure, just like that. And the same thing on the other side here. Hold this down, put the washer through, and spin the... Okay, so now that's in place. I'm just going to do any final adjustments now. You can adjust the toilet seat before you tighten it. Just make sure it's straight. Okay, and it is. So now I'm going to start tightening this, hand tighten, a little bit of pressure on each side just to even it out. Okay. And you can see that's getting tight. If you have to use a flathead screwdriver, you can do so, and I've got one of those right here, just to hold it in place, or use that to tighten it even more, just like that. And I'm just using my hand to hold on to the plastic. Okay, right there. That's not going anywhere. And just press this back into place, down like that. That's it. Now the last thing to do is to test the toilet out and make sure that there is no leaks and the toilet is functioning correctly. So what I'm going to do, it's now time to turn the water back on, and it will fill the tank, and then we will flush it a few times, and I'll pay attention to any leaks around the seals, the water line, and of course, most importantly, the tank and any water that would be leaking, whether you've chosen to either caulk or not, but you want to make sure that it's working correctly. So now I will put the water back on like such. And we can see the water is currently filling up in the tank and the toilet. Now the water has filled up. I don't see any leaks, which is a good sign. I'm going to first try the single flush. And of course the big difference, the big advantage of course, is the water consumption. The amount of water that this toilet is utilizing compared to the old style toilet is a lot less. It is making a huge difference, obviously, off of the bill. Energy saving water is a big positive thing to do. And this is filling back up. We're going to try the full flush and make sure that works correctly as well. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to check for any leaks. You want to run your hand along everything along the back. Make sure you don't feel anything between the tank and the toilet. And everything looks good. There's no leaking from the hose. That means this job is completed. That's it. That's how you change and install a toilet for your bathroom. Just want to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, bash that bell to turn notifications on for all upcoming videos, share the video, like the video, leave a comment down below, and we'll see you next time on the next video. JeffLepard.com. Take care, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.